Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Devil's Digest game preview as Arizona State gets set for its final regular season matchup of the season against U of A in the Territorial Cup. We hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. As always, my name is Justin Lacertosa. That's publisher Hod Urbino. And Hod, everyone's talked about all week, rivalry game with your in-state rival, and U of A, a team that hasn't really performed to expectations this season. But for Arizona State, you're going into Tucson. You lost the last two Territorial Cup games, so something to prove there, but also an opportunity to clinch your spot in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, you're right, Justin. I think there's maybe the normal narrative, so to speak, that does come with these Territorial Cup games. In ASU's case, I would say maybe if you took that approach, avenging a 59-23 loss in Tempe last season would normally be on their mind. But I think the fact that ASU is playing for a spot in the Big 12 title game. And yes, we know that there is a wacky scenario that ASU could still win on Saturday, but if four very specific outcomes in the Big 12 take place, ASU could find itself out. But chances are, if ASU takes care of business in Tucson on Saturday, they will be in the Big 12 title game. And I think that really helps them just refocus their energy and really understand what's truly at stake over here. I mean, sure, everybody wants the bragging rights. And when you lose two in-state games in a row, especially when you're humiliated at home like you were last year, I mean, I can understand maybe that being the knee-jerk reaction that really should guide you. But really, I think more than anything, playing in the Big 12 title game, that has to be front and center for Arizona State. They really have to treat this like they're going on a business trip, and this is a business they really need to take care of. We always talk about ASU relishing in the underdog role, and sure, they're a touchdown plus favorite in this game. But on the other hand, I'm sure that some of the players and coaches weren't too happy when the college football playoff rankings came out, and ASU is number 16, even though right now they're technically number 1 in the Big 12, winning all tiebreakers. So basically, I think that if ASU just really takes that approach, that the Big 12 title game, that is what front and center. That's the cake. The icing on the cake is beating your in-state rival, having the bragging rights, avenging the loss that you had in Tempe last year, which again was a pretty crushing loss, and really bringing the cup home. That should be the icing on the cake. So as long as ASU really concentrates on the cake, the icing is going to take care of itself.
Yeah, Hod, and this is an Arizona offense that ranks second to last in the Big 12 in points on average, but one that ASU has to take seriously nonetheless, and 6th in the Big 12 in passing yards with that QB wide receiver connection. What do you think ASU's evens need to do to sort of limit that?
Yeah, it's really ironic that you see a team that's only averaging just over 23 points a game, but having a quarterback in Fafita, a wide receiver in Territorial McMillan. Last time I'm going to call him by his government name. It's T-Mac from here on out. That combination was obviously significant in U of A, winning 10 games last year, and this year it definitely has been a struggle. McMillan is still, I think, third in the nation in receiving yards with 1,251, does have 78 receptions, but also only has 7 touchdowns. You look at quarterback Noah Fafita, he has over 2,800 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions. So things obviously really have not been clicking all that well. I think it's because the cast of characters when it comes to the aerial targets for the Wildcats is nothing like it was last year when he had Jacob Cowling and Dorian Singer. So every defense that faces U of A, and by and large being able to do that with a high success rate, is really bracket McMillan as much as you can, really force Fafita to find other aerial targets to really get this offense going, and that just by the sheer results has definitely been a struggle. You look at 12 interceptions by Fafita, and you can say that there's definitely some desperation mode really kicking in here when U of A gets down and really is trailing by multiple scores. And again, does Fafita not be able to really define other receivers not named T-Mac? So I think ASU's approach is basically not going to be reinvent the wheel and just make sure that Fafita-McMillan connection is not effective at all. But at the same time, even though you think you would not want to crowd the line of scrimmage because McMillan on one-on-one matchup is not really the desired matchup that you'd want to, and I'm Brian Ward, the ASU defensive coordinator, still sang the praises of McMillan, even though he is not having the year that probably he expected to have, let alone this U of A offense really struggling. So I think that for ASU really to put as much pressure as possible on Fafita, because again, he's shown that he's quite prone to mistakes. If you can still do that with a banged up offensive line for Arizona, but at the same time make sure that you're able to bracket McMillan effectively, I think the ASU defense should do okay against this Wildcat offense. But don't be surprised if there can be some shock and awe moments by Fafita and McMillan, because again, this is a very, very competent duo, and I think if U of A has any chance of winning this game, it's really what the other players around that duo is or is not going to do on Saturday.
Yeah, this is an Arizona defense that has struggled throughout the season, but this is also an ASU offense, as good as they've played, that struggles at times to put a full 4 quarters together. How do you think ASU's offense could sort of take advantage of that defense?
Yeah, you talk about a U of A defense that is averaging over 30 points a game, so you like to think that ASU facing a run defense that is 4th worst in the Big 12 should really have a day in Tucson. I think that when you look at their secondary, to be honest, even in a struggling season, I think this Arizona secondary did play well at times, but they have had a lot of injuries, a lot of absences in the last few weeks, and the players that need to step up in lieu of those starters have not really done a good job. So I think this is a defense that really can allow ASU to have one of the more balanced games, not only run pass, but also in terms of a consistent effort over 4 quarters. I still think, and we talked about it a lot, that keep away ball that the ASU offense is playing, just dominating the time possession just in the last 2 games against Kansas State and BYU. That is still an approach that you want to have against Arizona, even though that squad is nowhere the caliber of Kansas State or BYU. And that goes back to my earlier point. You want to give Fafita and McMillan as least amount of reps as possible on Saturday. So, whether it's running the ball or just really having effective passing concepts, but without really just really feeling the need that you have to go downfield just because it's a weak secondary. I think that's an approach that can really serve ASU quite well. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that in the last 2 weeks against Kansas State and BYU, they play defenses that are much, much better than this Arizona defense. But again, I think you have to be really, really calculated with your approach. Don't feel you have to put a lot of points early and often on the scoreboard, and really just decimate this Arizona defense or this Arizona team overall. Because again, I think that you definitely have the tools to frustrate them just as much if you're just being very, very methodical in your offensive approach and really making sure that you can just have the time of possession not only in your advantage but way in your advantage.
Yeah, and again, a lot on the line in this game, more than just trying to avenge the last 2 Territorial Cup losses and bragging rights, but again, that Big 12 championship spot potentially on the line for ASU in this one. And there's been talk all week, expect the unexpected in a rivalry game like this. What do you expect to see out of this one?
I think first and foremost, this is a game where passion has to overrule emotion. And passion is coming very, very motivated to this game, being very focused on the task of hand. And again, the biggest task at hand is having a spot in the Big 12 title game. Anything else is going to be secondary to that. That's at least my opinion, but I also think the players and the coaches do share that opinion too. I think that when it comes to the emotion part of it, you just have to make sure not to get caught up in the emotion. You're going to play in a hostile environment. I don't know, because of the season U of A is having, if ASU would look back at this game and say this is a more hostile environment than other games that they faced this year, but nonetheless, it's going to be them against the world, and that can maybe put them again in that quote-unquote underdog role, even though they're over a touchdown favorite. But just making sure that you're not going to get caught up in the trash talk, whether it's coming on the field, whether it's coming from the stands. And again, it just comes back to just really having your focus in the right direction. I think that one of the former ASU coaches, Dirk Cutter, said that just because it's a rivalry game doesn't mean that it cannot be a one-sided game if one team is clearly better than the other. And I think when ASU had a very recent run of winning 5 Territorial Cup games, they were the better team than Arizona, and in some cases even much better than Arizona. In the last 2 years, you can definitely make a sound argument that Arizona was the better team than Arizona State, and that's why they won those games. So I think it's coming back full circle, if you will. This is clearly a better ASU team than they were the last 2 years. And I think this Arizona team, even though you might be the biggest Wildcat fan out there, know that it's almost unrecognizable in an adverse way from last year. So this is a game that Arizona State should win. As we always say every week, Justin, is it going to be easy? Heck no. ASU is a master of the white knuckle games. ASU is a master of the nail biter contest. It's not going to be any different in Tucson, but I do see ASU prevailing 31-26, and I do think that with that win, they're not going to be the 4 crazy scenarios to follow. They're going to deny ASU a spot in Arlington, Texas, a week from Saturday.
Well, Hope, thank you for all your insight. The Wildcats look to spoil the party for Arizona State this Saturday in Tucson in the Big 12's first iteration of the Territorial Cup. We'll be there to catch all the action, so to stay locked in on all the coverage, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter @DevilsDigest. As always, I'm Justin Lesterdosa. That's publisher Rubino. We'll talk to you guys soon.